some highlights of Racedayquads and the FAA. You know, Blunty, we've covered in many different ways, both in the news and on my channel. I've done interviews with Jonathan Ruprecht and Tyler Brennan talking about the case. And of course, they're suing the FAA about remote ID, which I know I've made many videos about remote ID and why it's bad and why we should hate it. So if you need to get caught up on any of that, that stuff is on my channel. But the thing that happened most recently is that they actually stood up in front of a federal court and did the thing. They had oral arguments, and we should get a sense of like what the judges thought. Like, you can't always read which way a case is going to go, because judges often like ask questions of both sides and then they write their argument. But there was some interesting stuff in there, Blunty. Where should we dive in?
Yeah, so just to quickly summarize, so this is Ruprecht versus Ross. So Ross is the FAA representative, the lawyer, and Ruprecht is is Tyler Brennan, RDQ's lawyer. And basically, the 2 points that we've talked about before, where they were trying to say, "Hey, this is a Fourth Amendment violation, and this is arbitrary and capricious that you did not take care of all the basically all the feedback that was given and all the comments. We feel you ignored some of the comments that would be vital." So they got in front of 3 judges here live, and we got to hear that live this morning. And there's a VOD for us to look at. So if we'll take a look at the second link in the show notes there.
149.
Yes.
All right.
It's going to end with this question. What do you want me to do? Great.
Hang on one second. Let me get myself off screen. Oh, hey there. I hate to be on screen when you're not. That seems unfair.
Basically, the judge is pitching him a hypothetical. I'm just giving a couple highlights here, but the judge is pitching him a hypothetical, and he's saying, like, I'm going to give you this hypothetical, and I want you to kind of explain to me how you would answer this, what you want me to do, right?
Okay.
So,
all right. Here we go.
Yeah. Now, assume I think that this rule does not violate the Fourth Amendment in 99.9% of its applications. Because although Carpenter and Jones carved out some, I think, still narrow exceptions to this general rule, there is, I think, a general rule that what someone does in public is not private. And most of the time, I suspect, when people fly drones, it's in public.
Now, Blunty, let me pause it here real quick. Who's speaking here, Blunty?
This is one of the judges. I'm not sure which judge. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not.
So the judge is proposing a hypothetical.
Yeah, correct. There's 3 judges here. You'll hear 2 male judges and a female judge.
Okay.
And one of the judges here is proposing a hypothetical to Mr. Ross, the FAA's lawyer.
Okay, got it.
I'll even, for the sake of this, say that above your own tree line will count as in public. But there are going to be times where someone might not even leave the walls of their house, and they're flying a drone on their own property below the tree line. And that drone and that person cannot be seen by anyone unless someone were to trespass on their property. In that instance, I think your rule is unconstitutional. What do you want me to write in an opinion if I get to write this?
Sure. For one, I will contest that I don't want to fight the hypothetical.
I know,
but I will say just for purposes of clarity with respect to the rule scope, in all circumstances, it contemplates that operators will be within the line of sight of a drone, and so it's hard to imagine that you would be within the walls of your house and operating the drone outside. And so even if you're at the window and
we'll take them outside the house. I still think
sure. Yes, absolutely. I just wanted to clarify for purposes of the court's understanding. My understanding is that the rulemaking would have to be done again because the technical specifications associated with identifying very specific places in which the rule would not apply are things that would require a substantial reworking of the rule itself.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty interesting that they got the FAA lawyer to admit, like, yeah, I mean, in that case, we would have to go back and do the rule again. You know?
Yeah. So, and the FAA's perspective has always sort of been, gosh, you guys, what do you want us to do? Just rewrite the whole rule to take into account your freedoms? That'd be so hard. That's like if you said, "Hey, can I get a burger with extra pickles?" And they were like, "They're already in the pass. What do you want me to do? Just open it up and put extra pickles on it?" Jeez.
Yeah.
This is gonna be so hard.
Yeah.
I love that the judge mentioned the tree line. It shows that they have some awareness of protected operations.
Just to let you guys know, we'll look at one more clip here, but if you guys are interested, this is great. The whole thing is like this. From as soon as the FAA lawyer comes on, all three judges are like boom, 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 just for 30 minutes. They're asking questions like this to the FAA lawyer. He even says a couple times, he's like, I don't know that this is within the scope of this case. And he's like, pretend like it is. Tell me the answer. It's pretty cool. So
yeah. We'll take a look at one more little clip that you pulled out, Blunty.
One more situation here. Let me set it up real quick. Just that. So the judge here is talking about, he's basically set up this situation where he said, okay, I'm in my yard. I'm under the tree line. He definitely mentions the tree line again. He's like, nobody can get to me, right? We're all covered and huddled away, right? Mm-hmm. So why is it a risk? Why is it a risk for drones? To come into that space that seems a little crazy, that sort of thing. And the FAA guy's like, well, we have to cover for all these cases, and this is kind of his response to that.
Particular ranch operator, say in the middle of Oklahoma.
Hang on, I'm going to back it up so we get the whole thing.
One particular ranch operator, say in the middle of Oklahoma, is using his own drone. That's not to say there might be another drone that would foreseeably collide with that drone, but it would be impossible to know that there was other.
What if I'm talking about on your property below your tree?
Even so, say there was still another drone that was coming into that space for one reason or another.
Would that other drone be trespassing?
That would be a separate question to bring an action against the other drone user.
A little bit extreme to say you can regulate what someone does with their drone on their own private property, because what they do on their property might interfere with what a trespasser does.
That may be the case, Your Honor, but I will return to my prior point that there's no way for FAA to foreclose any drone user from exiting their property with the device. And that's really... Well,
they could make the regulatory requirement that anybody who's not below the tree line on their own property needs to have this. And then if you're out and you don't have it, then you're not in compliance. I mean, there's lots of ways that this could have been written more narrowly. I recognize that isn't the rule we have, and this isn't actually the nature of the challenge even that we have before us, but we're just probing the interest of...
Is there more, Blunty?
Yeah.
You want to keep going?
Yeah, that's it. Yep. So you could see the judges are trying to probe this as much as, to me, this is what I would have expected, I don't think the lawyers can really probe each other too much. So this is kind of what you would expect, I guess. But this is definitely what the argument a lot of us have talked about before. These are a lot of the same conversations we've had.
Exactly. And I don't know which way the case is going to go. And anybody who thinks they do know is wrong. But I do feel somewhat gratified to hear the judges taking it seriously. And what I've heard in the past when I've listened to the Supreme Court arguments is that usually the judges will probe each side using the best arguments from the other side. And if you only listen to one of them, it sounds like they're going to go the other way. But it's really nice to hear when the topic is as obscure as FPV, that the judges do seem to understand many of the arguments being made by Racedayquads. And whether they agree with them and whether we win the case, it's just nice to know that someone actually thought about the arguments we're making.
Yeah, they go through, like I said, they go through a lot of this stuff. Maybe we'll do a video later kind of covering all that. They cover a lot of this stuff. But one thing I know that we should maybe mention is that Brennan Schulman has been big on this, and a couple other people have mentioned this. That basically, the concern here is that if there is some decision, because they also talk about covered airspace and what jurisdiction the FAA has, lots of different parts of this, right? And the question is, if they say 500 feet and they talk about that limit and who owns what property and your rights to, search, unreasonable search. Mm-hmm. If they were to rule that and to say no, this rule has to be kicked back out, you have to go rework this rule, and we have to say, you can't govern this area, then suddenly who's going to take care of that area? Does that open to the states and other local municipalities to govern these kind of areas?
Yeah. And we started hearing this argument way back when remote ID was first proposed. Rotor Riot and Drew were talking about this. I think I don't remember if it's a senator or representative. I don't remember the guy's name, so I apologize for that. But there was a guy who had proposed to make, like, basically everything under 200 feet is your private, you own it as a private, whatever, homeowner, whatever, and take that jurisdiction away from the FAA. The FAA's current interpretation is that the federal government regulates everything down to the blades of grass, basically. And that sounds on its surface like a good thing, and it sounds like it makes sense because obviously I should be able to fly a drone in my backyard, right? The FAA shouldn't be able to tell me I can't do that. But the problem, and this is the argument that Brendan Schulman is making, is that you won't do that, because think about it right now. Do you control what you can do in your own backyard? Well, depending on where you live, no. You may have a homeowners association. You may have county rules. You may have city rules. You may have state rules. All of those things regulate what you can do on your property. And as soon as that is taken away from the FAA, suddenly now there's this patchwork of potentially worse requirements that is difficult to comply with.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see what the decisions look like and what the comments are on those decisions.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily I don't know.
I'll tell you, after I listened to it twice today. Listening to it, my opinion of it is that two of the lawyers, the two male lawyers, are very much of the side of like, this seems to overstep the bounds. And basically another lawyer, the female lawyer or the female judge is like, I don't know, but the two male judges seem like, I don't know, they're on the side of like, we can't do this, and they're going to push the rule back. But I don't know. It will depend on like, how they end up settling, what the scope of this case is versus like other cases that could be brought to, So
yeah. Hold on a second. We have not sure what happened there. I think had a little moderation oopsie. I'm going to just try to fix it real quick. Don't hide people. Not sure what happened. I assume that was an accident. Sorry about that, one IFPV. I'm not sure what happened there. Okay, sorry, Blunty. I lost you there at the end, but I think we're just about done with this one. Apologize for trailing off there.
Yeah, so I mean, I think like we said, we'd like to go into this in more detail maybe in the future, but if you are any kind of interested in this, I encourage you to go to the link in the show notes and check out this conversation. It's pretty good.
Yeah. And we will schedule some kind of a dedicated, like, I want to just sit there and watch the whole thing with you and kind of react to it in real time. So